on, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the Grounded podcast. Hey, chill. No applause. Honestly, this is long overdue for myself. Just in something basically saying that I wanted to start a podcast back in, I want to say 2022. But as you know, sometimes the plans that you make doesn't always mean that's what's going to happen. A lot of times other things will get in the way. A lot of times life can happen. A lot of times there's just a lot of different things that can get in the way of kind of doing the thing that you want. And if you kind of lose sight of that, then, you look back and you're like, hey, I never did this. So I told myself in 2024, I know we're, a few weeks in, but better late than never. I told myself in 2024 that I would make a podcast for myself and just see where it takes me. I think, honestly, there's kind of a lot that I feel like I want to discuss and talk about and go over and laugh with and this, that. And I just feel like, I feel like I have at least the ability to hopefully inspire or inform or discuss just multiple topics with kind of things that are happening, in our world today or just in my personal life or my personal experience. So, just kind of something to start out with on kind of what the podcast is, what it's about. If you haven't seen kind of like the logo already, I'm gonna flash it for the camera. Camera probably won't be able to see it, but I got an okay videographer. He might be able to do some magic with it. So basically the podcast, kind of has like a little coffee cup. It's on the ground. It's called Grounded. The G in ground is lowercase. It's, again, just being as level and as floor, to the floor as possible with our expectations and just kind of some of the things that we're doing in life. So kind of the mission statement per se behind Grounded, obviously you could take Grounded in multiple different formats, but based on Webster, Grounded is mentally and emotionally stable, admirably sensible, realistic, and unpretentious. So for me, kind of like what being grounded is, we live in a society obsessed with expectations and social media being at the forefront. Most of these expectations are not real. Being grounded is about humbling yourself and taking a moment to understand what's truly important, all while setting realistic expectations for your life. Run your own race, prioritize your mental health, create your own goals, and don't take this short life we have for granted. Stay grounded. So that's like the mission statement per se for the podcast and like kind of the reasoning on why I wanted to do it, because again, like in this generation in 2024, you just see so much. There's so many things out there that it's very hard to separate the real from the fake from the real. It's so easy to kind of be encapsulated with thinking that, oh my goodness, I saw so and so do this, now I got to do that. I saw this person drives this, so now I got to drive that. And it's just, again, creating a lot of unrealistic expectations that really nobody's holding to you except yourself. So please use this podcast as a way to kind of see through some of the nonsense. But then again, the podcast is also going to be more. I'm a big sports fanatic, so I'll be giving my unsolicited takes on all things NFL, NBA, and that's really much it. That's kind of the gist of what we're going to. But a few things I want to kind of get into before we really, really get started. I'm going to give a introduction to myself and just, again, the reasoning on why I'm even doing this in the first place. But if you're watching, you're going to be able to see that I got some tings with me. Now, if you're one of those people who's strictly audio, I'm going to give you the best ASMR possible through this process of making coffee. So for me, I'm a very avid coffee drinker. Grounded, right? So like ground coffee. Coffee is just something that is very I guess important. Like, I love coffee. You know what I'm saying? So I've actually never made coffee this way. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a lazy coffee drinker in the sense of, pulling up to different coffee shops or, just making coffee at my house with my Nespresso. But I'm actually going to use a French press today, which this is going to be my first time. But I think anybody who's like an avid coffee drinker is like, they live and die by the French press. So we're going to kind of see what the hype is about. I'm gonna give it a little, my Keith Lee rating, 1 through 10. We're gonna see what we're talking about. So I'm gonna give an introduction to myself, like of myself, while I'm making this coffee, and we're just gonna go along with it and see how it goes. So if you hear some stuff in the background, if you're one of those people who refuse to subscribe to my YouTube channel and refuse to support a small black business and doesn't decide to watch as well as listen, you're just gonna have to listen to the ASMR version of me making this coffee. But also, if you want to tune into my YouTube channel / Josh Price Fit, you'll be able to see me make this French roast coffee, or this French press coffee. The beans that I'm using is I'm about to butcher this joint, but Lavazza. Lavazza. I'm gonna have my beautiful videographer zoom in on this joint. So this is whole bean coffee. So again, I have never made this before in my life. I've never used coffee from the bean. I actually knew a guy who used to just crush beans. Like, he would eat coffee beans like it was candy. So this is gonna be my first time actually making it this style. I got a grinder. Like, I have all this stuff with me. So again, I'm gonna kind of go through the introduction about myself. So for those of you who do not know, my name is Joshua Emmanuel Price. But I go by Josh. I am 27 years old. I live in Frederick, Maryland. I usually I say that I'm from Frederick just because it's a little easier to tell people, because I was a military brat growing up, so kind of bounced around from place to place for the beginning years. But I went to middle school. I went to 5th grade, middle, and high school in Frederick. So that's where I claim that I'm from. But I was born in Louisiana. My dad was stationed in Louisiana. We left Louisiana. We went to Florida. And then my dad was stationed there. We left Florida, and then he got stationed in Baltimore. We left Baltimore, and then he retired, and then we moved to Frederick, and that's kind of been the thing that's been home to me. This is the only place that I went to. I think 3 different elementary schools. So getting to Frederick was kind of a relief. But then again, like, for a lot of my older siblings, they are the ones who kind of got to see my dad go to all different places. I mean, Boston and Michigan and all these different spots. And like, for me, I only got a small dose of. He was already at the end of his military career by that time. So fast forward, again, like I said, 27, live in Frederick, Maryland. I am married, and I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old son named Josiah. I have a 5-year-old daughter, which is even crazy to say because her birthday was last week. So happy birthday, Haven. 5-year-old daughter. So 7 and 5. Been married for coming up on 9 years. This year will make 9 years with my beautiful wife, Raquel, which, depending on how good my videographer is, we're going to post a little picture of us right there. As you can see, he's going to have his hands full with some of this editing. But yeah, we got married right after high school, 18 years old. We decided that, hey, like, I believe that you're the one for me, and she was kind of in the same standpoint. And we thought that, at first, when I graduated high school, I thought I was going to go to college. I thought I was going to play football. I thought that I had a lot of different aspirations for myself. And if you're currently listening, what you're hearing right now is just me. I'm grinding the coffee. So ASMR. But yeah, so yeah, we just decided that this is what we want. I thought I was going to go to college, but it turns out that, I saw a lot of my older siblings go to college, and I have 4 sisters and a brother, and I'm the second to last. So I have 4 older siblings. I saw all of them go to school, and I was like, I don't really know if that's the path I want for me. There's nothing against college. I think college is a great tool for a lot of people, but for me at that moment, I'm like, personally, I'm ready for the workforce. I'm ready to make money. I'm ready to, not be in a classroom for another 4 years. I've spent 12 years in the classroom already. I'm sick of it. So that being said, I decided, hey, like, let me do this military thing. My dad was in the Coast Guard, so I was like, I don't want to go Coast Guard. So let me try to see, like, what branch is the best branch and see what, everything has to offer. And then from there, I was like, well, let me go to Air Force. So I went over to the Air Force recruiting station, and I had a pretty bad ankle injury my junior year of high school. So um, I basically just was, um, I broke my ankle. I had a spiral fracture on my fibula, and then I had surgery. I was out of school for 6 months. And so when I went to the Air Force recruiting place, they were like, "Have you had any major injuries?" I was like, "I have. I had a broken ankle in my junior year, but I did 3 months of PT. I played sports. I'm in great shape, so on and so forth." So then after that, they were like, "Well, we need to see every single surgical note, every single record, every single thing affiliated with your injury, your surgery, all the way from the day you went to the hospital to your last day of PT." I'm like, I I don't I don't have that information. And then also too is that because of the type of surgery that I got it to where there is no I got metal in my ankle, and it's not coming out. It's going to stay in my ankle for the rest of my life. So that being said, we kind of, fast forward a little bit, and the recruiter was like, "Nah, like we're not gonna accept you. We're not gonna take you on because we feel that you're a liability." And I'm like, "Dang, like liabilities? That's kind of like a crazy statement, but it is what it is, right?" So we fast forward, and we kind of get to the point to where I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. I already knew the Marines was out the window for me. I had knew Marines in the past, and obviously all respect to the Marines and the Marines friends that I have now, but I knew for a fact that wasn't for me. Um, and again, I also knew that like I was in like a serious relationship, which like I wasn't trying to be on no crazy deployments, so that crossed out Navy. And then fast forward, we kind of get Army again, definitely out the picture. And we get to the Coast Guard, and I'm like, I kind of grew up around the Coast Guard. Like I feel like it kind of would make sense for me to join the Coast Guard just because my dad was in. But I was like, I don't know if I want to feel like I'm following after his footsteps. But I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, it is what it is. Let me try this Coast Guard thing out. And that's when I was like, okay, like, this is the move. At the time, too, my brother-in-law had actually just got out of boot camp. So he comes back home, and we're kind of talking about it. And we're like chopping it up about his experience at boot camp. And I was like, huh, like, actually sounds like this is something I could do. So that's when I decided I'm going to join the Coast Guard. And again, at the time, my wife and I were dating. I'm a senior in high school. And to most seniors in high school, they, whether they're in a serious relationship or not, that kind of continues post high school. And most, I would say, if I had to throw a number out there, like 90+% of people are not getting married at 18 in 2020, at the time, 2015. So I'm like, there's no way. And we were kind of like looked at crazy. We were looked at sideways. People were looking at us like we had decided to be like, hey, we're gonna pack everything up and move to Zimbabwe. And I just you would think that it was something crazy, but I'm like, hey, we're gonna get married, and like I'm telling you, the response that we got from my friends, from my family members, distant and close friends from, and then, just kind of the talk of people, when I graduated high school was like, yo, like Josh is getting married. He's 18. So, I'm hearing all this noise, and I'm just like, listen, like nobody else is in my relationship. And at the same time, I feel like a lot of people, they are quick to put their 2 cents in, but that's all it is. Like they really don't care about the outcome, like whether it's good or bad. They just want to put their 2 cents in. So for me, I'm like, you know what? Like this is what I want to do. I want to get married. And I've always kind of been, even from youth, I've always been one of those people that have kind of like gone against the grain of what, a lot of people will say, what a lot of people will tell you. And sometimes that's not always the best thing. Even if the masses of people are saying do one thing, that doesn't mean that it's the best thing for you. So yeah, we Raquel and I, we wanted to get married young. We wanted to have our family young. We had our first kid. She was 20, I was 19. And then we had our second kid a few years after that. So that was it. And when I turned 21, I got a vasectomy, which is crazy. A lot of people that are 21 years old don't have vasectomies. Like But again, like Raquel and I were very serious about what we wanted to do, and we wanted our two kids. We were trying for a boy and a girl, and God kind of blessed us with having a boy and a girl, and that was our deal. To where if we had two kids to start, and one was a boy, one was a girl, then we would keep it pushing and try to, raise our two kids right, and then be able to be in our 40s and have teenagers and have kids who are like in their 20s, and hopefully, Lord willing, enjoy our grandkids, their kids, things like that I want to have in my youth. Because I feel like, again, a lot of people, which again, you're living your life, so it's no knock, but for me personally, I didn't want to have kids at in my 30s and 40s, just because it's having kids is that's a whole episode in itself, but I'll continue, right? So I don't know what step I am in this French press thing, but now I'm actually pulling the press up. So I think now it's just all coffee at the bottom. So now I'm going to pour this coffee in. We're gonna see what we're talking about. Let's see what we're talking about. I hope this doesn't make a mess. Let's see. All right. Oh, yep. Got some grounds in there, but that's okay. Hope you don't. For people listening, I'm not peeing. I'm pouring coffee in my cup. So relax. All right. So again, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I'm hoping it's at least decent. Again, I'm one of those people who I can drink any kind of coffee and you'll never hear me complain. But personally, I feel like a lot of people love the French press. So we're going to see what we're talking about. But I'm not just going to drink it black. Usually I will drink my coffee black in a lot of cases, but in this circumstance, I do got this sugar-free brown sugar cinnamon syrup. I'm about to do like little 2 pumps. Oh man, why is this joint so tall? All right, here we go. All right, 1 pump, 2 pumps. All right, so yeah, so got married at 18, had our kids young, got a vasectomy, knew what we wanted, and I knew that the big thing for me wasn't to have kids after having the two that we kind of agreed upon. And again, caught a lot of noise from outside people, whether it was coworkers at the time, whether it was family members. A lot of people, they just didn't think it was a wise decision. They said, what if something happens? What if there's some freak accident that your whole family is, and you have to kind of start a new family now? You ain't got no swimmers. And for me, I'm like, look, if something like that happens, God forbid, then I'll still kind of live my life knowing that, hey, like, I've had a beautiful family, and and that's kind of like with anything can always be taken from you, and you can't always do something about it. So I'm not going to let that stop me from, it's not like it just is what it is. Like, and I'm okay with that. But I feel like it did take me a minute to kind of come to that realization that, hey, like, this is a, relatively permanent thing. Now, granted, there are reversals and stuff to vasectomies, but I ain't trying to do all that. But yeah, easy procedure, too easy, got through it. But yeah, that's kind of why we did what we did. A lot of things I've done, again, has kind of gone against the grain in what society and what people around you are doing. Getting married at 18, having kids at 19, having a vasectomy at 21, very, very uncommon, but here we are. So, I did 6 years active duty in the military, 1 year as a reservist. I enjoyed my time heavily. I did a lot of operations in the Coast Guard. I was an operations specialist. I did my first unit was in Maine, and then I went to near San Francisco for a training school, and actually in Petaluma, California. Left there, went to Chesapeake, Virginia, to where I did most of my active duty time, and then I got out, and then I still did a year as a reservist in Chesapeake, Virginia. When I got out, moved back to Maryland, back to Frederick, back home, to where at the time I knew that I wanted to open up a gym. That was my long-term goal. That was, even when I was in high school, I told myself that my dream job was to be a gym owner. It's the only thing in the world. it was either I want to be a gym owner or a gym teacher. One of the two is that I'm wearing sweatpants and shorts as in a professional setting, because you can't beat that. I'm not a shirt and tie type of guy. I never have been. I've had to be at times for certain jobs, but that's not my forte. So for myself, opening up a gym was always something that I kind of wanted for my life. So for me, I was trying to figure out how in the world do I get to this point. So initially, I was going to do 20 years in the military. I was going to get out of the military after 20, military has a great retirement system. So I was going to retire at 38 and then open up a gym. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, 38 years old from, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, that's still a long time. And I also know that because nothing is guaranteed, how in the world am I going to know that I'm going to even make it to 38 years old, right? And so let's say, again, God forbid something crazy happens and I'm, laid up somewhere. Am I going to look back and be like, I did my 10, 15, 19 years in the military. I didn't make it to 20. Now I'm never going to be able to, do what I want to do. I'm never going to be able to actually live my dream out because I decided to wait. And in some aspects, you would think of it like, oh, Josh, like it's smart to prepare. It's smart to have a plan. It is. But I also understand that like life moves so quick. Like I told you, I got a 7-year-old. So it's crazy to think about that. Like the fact that my son is 7 and I remember, to the detail, the moment he was born. That's how you know that life is moving, like it's flying by. And a lot of times we make these plans for so far in the future that like you don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't know what next week holds. And that's the part where you have to kind of figure out like, hey, I realize that I'm not going to be able to, I may not be able to get to this goal because I may move somewhere. I may have a job change. I may do this. I may do that. So for me, I'm like, you know what, how do I get here? So this is the day where I decided that it was time to get out. And I say this to a lot of people, and I never really know how it comes off because sometimes when I say it out loud, it kind of sounds a little corny, but I'll say it anyway. So, because to me, this was like a major turning point in my life. And I feel like for a lot of people, they may not be able to relate to this. And I know a lot of people who probably can. So January of 2020, this is like, it's COVID, but it's also like not COVID yet, like not peak COVID. So we're kind of going into, it's just another day. I'm off work, I'm chilling. And then I get on Twitter and I see that Kobe Bryant died. I was like, it's TMZ. It's probably fake, right? It's Kobe Bryant. Come on. Time passes. And then I'm like, it can't be real. Then once I see it like on CNN, I'm like, okay, like this is something that's like actually real. You know what I mean? Like this is crazy. And to me, like I grew up, Kobe was my favorite basketball player, favorite athlete ever. And so for myself, I really feel like that was like a monumental moment for me because I'm like, wow, like how he died so young. He died in his 40s and he had a beautiful family, wife, the success, the riches, all that stuff. And I'm like, life is so short. You know what I mean? That's someone who I truly looked up to. And so for me, I'm like, I'm sitting in my house again. I'm debating at the time, do I want to stay active duty military or do I want to get out and really pursue what I really want for my life? And then when Kobe died, I'm like, look at everything he accomplished. He's the legacy that he's leaving is for a lifetime, right? And to me, that's something that I want for myself and for my family and for my kids is that like, how do you want to be remembered when you're not here? Now, granted, you're not going to be here to even think about, I wonder how people remember me. But I think about it in a way of like, really, when you leave this earth, what are you leaving behind? What is your legacy? Is your legacy your job? Because I would probably say that for most people who, the working class American, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say your job probably doesn't care about you. And yes, they might care about you with the pizza parties and your 50-cent raise. And again, it sounds kind of harsh, but like, unfortunately, like you have to, a lot of times you have to do things for yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And that's where I kind of felt like I'm in the military. Military is such a large facet, right? And there's millions of people that are in the military, whether you're part of DOD, DHS, the government, there's so many people in it. And then you look and you're like, to me, I'm like, I'm just this tally, I'm this pawn, I'm this small piece. And like, if I pass and I pass, especially if I pass early, what am I leaving behind? Like, yes, I have a beautiful family, beautiful kids that'll hopefully carry out my name. But at the same time, I'm like, what else though? Like, what else, right? Am I truly impacting this earth? Am I truly living a life to where I can look back and be like, you know what? Like, I'm proud of the things I've accomplished and the things that I've done. So that being said, I was like, I got to get out. I got to get out of here. I got to get out the military. I got to get out of the Coast Guard. I loved my time in. Please do not mistake it. Like, I loved being in the military. I loved having that sense of purpose in the military. But at the same time, I knew that this wasn't going to be one of those things that I could do for 20 years and then do what I wanted to do. Couldn't be me. So that being said, I got out the military. Like I said, I moved back home. I moved to Frederick, and I'm like, okay, how do I get to the point to where I can get to my goal of opening up a gym? I'm not a business owner. I've never owned a business. I've never actually done business things, right? So for me, it was trying to surround myself with the right people to know, hey, how do I get here? I have this goal, I have this vision. I know what I want to do. How do I get here? Fast forward. So talking about my background, family, current life, all that stuff. So for me, I've always really been big into sports. I've always been really big into fitness, health and wellness, all that stuff. And so I found powerlifting when I was around, I think I was like 22, 21, 22. I found powerlifting. I always enjoyed just lifting heavy weight, not for a purpose or for competition, just because I enjoyed it. And I had one of my guys that I was stationed with where he was like, hey man, like you should really powerlift. And I'm like, I am. He's like, no, like for competition. So I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So I go into my first powerlifting meet, have zero expectations, didn't even really know what was going on. And at that time I was like, wow, this is my calling. This is where I'm supposed to be. I've always loved powerlifting. So after doing that first competition, I immediately signed up for a second competition. That was probably like a few months later. And then I do that competition. I'm like, I'm going to keep doing this. And now I want to be great. Like now that I'm doing it, it's like, okay, I want to be great. Cause what's the point of working out and training and doing all these things if you're not actually having some purpose behind it? So I'm going in, I'm doing these workouts. I get a coach and then boom, peak COVID, and I get deployed on top of that. So I couldn't really powerlift even if I wanted to. But after I got out, and this was late 2020, going into 2021, a lot of slowly but surely, a lot of gyms just like started to like reopen. So I was like, oh, okay, now I can powerlift. So I got back a hold of my coach, went back into this powerlifting stuff, and I loved it. And so for me, living in Frederick, I'm trying to powerlift, but there's no powerlifting gyms in Frederick. I'm driving out 40 plus minutes to powerlift just to have an environment, equipment, and the people to kind of support the type of training that I was doing. And I'm like, there's no way that I have to do this or I have to drive out this far to get kind of the service that I need, right? I know for people that live in Frederick, it's like, if you want Korean barbecue, like you're driving 30, 40 plus minutes out to get Korean barbecue. Now, granted, you're not eating Korean barbecue every day, so it's not comparison to working out, but for a service that you want, you have to kind of like outsource it and like drive a ways to go get it. So I'm like, for me, I'm like, we need to bring this to Frederick. Fast forward, Hometown Barbell, right? So that's the gym that I am the founder, the owner, and it's something that's my baby. That's my third baby. It's Hometown Barbell, man. That's what you see on the iPad. Pop it up real quick, Hometown Barbell. So this is the gym in Frederick, Maryland, 5904 Enterprise Court. If you didn't know already, come check us out, man. We do things different around here. I could go on and on and on about Hometown because it's the gym, right? But if you are local to the area and you haven't been there, just come check it out. It's different, it's a different flow. For me, I've never been a big commercial gym goer, but again, that's a time for another episode where it's not my speed, right? And I need to be around like-minded people who want to work hard and want to get better. And no matter what kind of sport you're doing or what kind of strength sport, or if you're an athlete or if you're just a general fitness goer, this is the place to be, man. Like you can really get a lot out of being around a place where people want to work hard and people want to train, right? It doesn't matter what level of fitness you're at either. You could just come in, pop in, get the work in, and it's just different. The equipment's different, the vibes is different, the music is different, and you're supporting a small black business. So how can you go wrong, right? So I think that's kind of the big thing, right? For me, just to kind of recap a little bit, it's just like going against the grain. You're going to hear a lot of noise, whether it's on social media, whether it's on from your coworkers, from your school, like your classmates, from your professors, from your church, from your barber. Everybody has their 2 cents. Everybody has a voice, and it's great, right? But you need to know kind of how to filter through all that information. There's a whole lot of things and a whole lot of um, people that are going to want to kind of give you that 2 cents, but you need to make sure that you're doing kind of what you want to do. You're respecting people's opinions, and you're going to make the decisions that's going to make you happy and that's going to help push you forward in your life, right? So this is kind of going to wrap up episode 1. And I'm going to kind of give you like one of the things that I want to do kind of going out is kind of a send off verse, like a verse in the Bible that to kind of send you off in your week that you just kind of take hold, think about, meditate on, and just be like, you know what, like this is kind of something that I need to do, right? So this comes from the book of Proverbs. It's Proverbs chapter 21, verse 5. The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So just really think on that, man. Like, it's good to plan 20 years out, tomorrow, next week. It's good to have goals, but be grounded in your thinking, be humble in your approach, and really take control of what you want. Plan for it, because otherwise you'll be on the quick path to poverty if you just sit back and wait for something great to happen to you. So I'll leave you off with that. I just realized I didn't even take a sip of this coffee yet. It's like torching my hands, but I'm gonna take a little quick sip for you. I'm gonna tell you how this French press. I'm gonna tell you. We're gonna see what the hype's about. First sip. First sip. Solid. 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 8.3 out of 10. So yeah. Again, stay humble. Stay grounded. I'll see you for episode 2. Peace.